All right, welcome to part two of this CartoonSmart video tutorial podcast, where we keep things relatively light, unlike our more serious tutorials. Isn't that right, Cleavon? Yeah, you do get kind of serious on the premium for the subscribers at CartoonSmart.com, but I am glad that you're letting me come in here and talk a little bit because you're doing me a solid by getting this website American-made set up. And, well, this looks like another one of your tangents that you got off on because can I read the title card here to introduce this a little bit? It says, the DWI WordPress setup, and then I'm assuming these are two steps that we got to look at today. Create a database, and then uploading WordPress via FTP. Actually, well, the DIY stands for the do-it-yourself. So the do-it-yourself WordPress setup, and you're right. What some of you might be on a host where you need to actually basically create a database that WordPress is going to tap into to kind of store everything for you. And then what we're going to do is upload a big download, or not that big of it, a download from WordPress that's going to essentially install it on there. So it's a couple more steps than, say, if you signed up with a host like GoDaddy and you just bought a WordPress, kind of our pre-set up website. But I would say probably half of you out there are going to have to do this. So I think it's worth talking about. And by the way, this is uploading WordPress via FTP. So don't try to say that as what? As FTP? It's not FTP? Nobody says it like that? I don't know. I mean, maybe, I guess you do. That's fine. So let me close this out. And holy tarnation, what on earth is that? Sorry, that's we also sell game art too through a website called GameArtPartners.com, and I put up this last night. And I guess it was just still lingering over here. You know what that looks like? Sorry, I gotta interrupt, man. These demons over here. Remember how I told you I had that vision of hell one day, and they had a bunch of unreleased Steve Winwood tracks down there, just holding it, keeping it from our plane of existence. Those are the exact guys that were guarding those. And if I ever get a chance, I'm gonna sneak back down there and grab at least one of those. I think it was on 8-track. But the world needs to know. They need to hear that music. Okay, so let me just take back over. Here we've got this is WordPress.org, and by the way, there is maybe a little confusion out there that you can sign up for a kind of turnkey solution for WordPress kind of doing everything for you, and that's through WordPress.com. So you can basically sign up for a blog. It's similar to Blogger.com, where you don't have the same kind of fine-tuned control that you would with either the GoDaddy version where they manage your WordPress, or the one that we're going to set up here. So don't get confused. Basically, you do not want WordPress.com. You want WordPress.org. And from here, what you can do is you can download the zip file of everything that you're going to install. So, of course, I've already gone ahead and done that over here. And there's those goblins again. So then what we're going to do is we're going to, via FTP, send this to the servers, wherever we're hosting at, which would probably at this point be just an empty location, right? Because you don't have anything on your website. So we're going to do that in just a moment, but kind of in I think in the kind of more natural order of things, what we need to do is we need to set up that database first. So let me just show you. This is just a screen capture from, there's those guys again. So a screen capture from the kind of the back end of my one-on-one server, and obviously I've kind of motion blurred out my previous databases, which do expose some essential information like the database name, username, and things like that. Although you don't have the password, it's still, I'd just rather not have that floating around over there. And then you're going to want to click on new database. Do you think that using the technology today that somebody could get in here and maybe zoom in on that and kind of recompile everything that you've blurred out over here? Dude, I kind of feel like maybe you should have done some sort of like maybe just kind of scratched it out, instead of doing the blurring, maybe just take a pen and just kind of scribbled it. I do that on a check sometimes. If I make a little mistake, I write the number too small, or somebody realizes I wrote the number too small. They say, Cleavon, this is not enough money right here. You trying to rip me off, aren't you? I'll say, no. Let me just scribble it out, and I'll put in there the real number. I mean, the number that I meant to put to begin with. Yeah, I think this is probably pretty fine. So anyway, we're going to click on new database, and then what you're going to want to do is, these guys keep popping up, don't they? Yeah, you are scaring me over here, man. I'm actually trembling a little bit. Every time I see that guy, just look at where he's using the thing. He's got it right in the zone for somebody's, demand parts. All right, so here it is. How did you get control of the screenshots to drag in here? Right? I'm right next to you. I can reach the trackpad too. Okay, so so this would be the next step. You'd see MySQL database setup, and they're just asking you for a description. Obviously, it's a good idea to put in here something that makes sense. Sure, you don't want to just put, if you have multiple sites, you don't want to just put in there website number 1 or my best favorite website. No, I think it's a good idea to just throw in there the actual domain or something. And then, of course, you want to put in here your password and then repeat out that password. And I like to use the whatever Safari suggests. So if you're on the Mac, just use one of those crazy passwords that they put in there. Can I ask you something? If, again, this goes back to sort of what we were talking about before, but when they do the dots like that, are they just making the letters really small? So, like, if we zoomed in, somebody would be able to kind of hack into your website. Like, can I just zoom in like that? Are the letters, if I keep going in, I guess that's as far as I can go in, and you can't make out what that letter would have been, huh? This just looks like a bunch of dots. Yeah, that's kind of the point of them doing that. No, there's no like letter smaller or underneath there or anything. All right, I'm just checking. I do worry about security, and if I was going to set this up for a client or something like that, I want to make sure that, and I did something like what you're doing, talking through here, I want to make sure that these dots don't come out and, I'd be like, oh, sorry, everybody got into your website because I showed the dots. Nope. So back over this way, probably by now, and I did just kind of click this a moment ago, probably by now my database actually is set up. It does take a little bit of time, and we're about ready to upload it. So what we're going to do is have to go over to basically create our FTP settings if we haven't done that already. So let's take a quick look at that. Okay, and so somewhere in your host provider, you're going to find something about either creating an SFTP account. S in this case, it stands for secure, but you could also go with FTP as well. And then they're just going to want a username, a password. I'd recommend just let Safari autofill in a great, very secure password that, again, probably you'll never remember, but you can always get it out of your keychain access in Safari. Or just write it down when they suggest it. And then it's always a good idea if you have multiple websites to make your FTP go to the exact folder or directory, say terms are synonymous, just for that particular domain. So you don't want to just throw in here a slash, all right, because that would mean that your FTP user can get into essentially every website that you're hosting, and especially good if you are doing stuff for a client or something like that. You don't want to accidentally give them an FTP account that can access all the other websites on there. So after you do that, just go ahead and click Save. All right, so let me bring into view the FTP program that I use. It's called Transmit. It's you can look up just Transmit and FTP into Google, and you'll undoubtedly find it. Their icon is a cool little isometric looking truck. And we're just going to want to create a new favorite, give it a description that makes sense for your website. Then you're going to want to put in here your server. You don't actually have to put in HTTP or anything like that. Just throw it on in, get your username in there, and then the password that you just created. And you can set preferences for where you kind of, when you log in, where you initially, what you see over here on this side is going to be your local path, or basically, you know, your folders on your desktop or your computer or your hard drive, whatever it is. And then this is going to land you where you'd be, you know, basically the root of your server for that particular domain. So you can see if I just log in real fast. Why'd you have me as a testing site? Don't ask. So I have logged in, and I should point out too that a moment ago I did have a little bit of a problem because I forgot one little key thing is that if you are going to have multiple websites that you're hosting, you want to make sure that your web space for your domain is also pointing to that folder or that initial location that you set up. So again, I tend to just create folders with the name of whatever the domain is. And so this would be considered your destination for the domain. So the destination is not the root, okay, which could conceivably have multiple websites. The destination is going to be that particular folder that's going to contain all the stuff for your website. And again, remember with our FTP, what we specified is that you can only go to that particular folder. You can't go to the root. And even though you're seeing this little root right here, what that's indicating actually is this is just the root of basically the highest point that you can get to in here, even though, you know, if I had full access, I could go one above that and see all the domains and everything like that. So this is, I have pointed us to where we downloaded WordPress from. And if you remember, we did that a moment ago. We downloaded WordPress and it unzipped for us. So what we're going to want to do is take all of these files right here and then just dump them onto the server. But there is one little thing that we need to adjust, which is going to be this WP config dash sample file, and you can open this up in any text editor. I've got one that I prefer over here, Sublime, and what it's basically saying here, well, we need to do two things. We need to rename this from just sample to just WP dash config, so take out the dash sample. And then we're going to put in here that information from our database. So the database name, username, the password. And we should be able to go with localhost in most cases. Some servers want you to put in something slightly different, but I think it's just worth trying localhost initially. And then once we've done that, we should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that information in here on my end. I'll pause this for a second, obviously, and I'll close that out so you guys don't see the password, username, all that stuff. And then we'll be ready to upload. And actually, before I fill any more of this in, let me just point out that if you are on a one-on-one, and I guess maybe depending on the plan that you have with them, they want me to put in here localhost :temp and then mysql.sock. That's a funny temporary sock, right? I consider almost every sock temporary if you step in mud or, you know, something like that. Or maybe some sort of wild animal got a hold of it. Leave on. Let me just finish this. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to take everything and drop it into there. And by the way, I did rename this WP-config from dash sample to what you're seeing right there. And of course, it's going to take us a little bit of time. You know, even though when we downloaded this was not a lot of data to download, about 8 megabytes or so. It does take a while to upload it. Are you getting tired over there? Yeah, apparently I am. It's not early, but it's just, I guess I feel like I've been teaching already for a while, so it shouldn't take us much longer. And then what we can do is we can go to the browser and test this out. And oh, look at that! I see that's I got a CNN alert. Somebody has done the seven summits and sailed the 7 seas. First person to ever do that. I actually take umbrance with that. I've done the 7 summits. Are you serious? Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of people I know have actually done that over at Mount Wannabe Full up in Montreal. It's about an hour north of River Falls, Florida. It actually borders one of the nation's deadliest swimming holes. So I think that a lot of people go up there and they got some gumption after swimming in there. They feel like they're kind of invincible. And there's like I said, there's a restaurant called Mount Wannabe Full, and they have the 7 summits on their menu. And if you can make it through all of those, it is truly a life accomplishment, and you get to write your name on the wall and stuff like that. So you did it. What are the what are the food that you have to summit, so to speak? And by the way, I don't think that that's what the CNN alert was about. What? Well, actually, I mean, if he did the 7 summits and the 7 sails, that's a nearby kind of a fish shack type place. If he did both of those in one day, he does deserve to be mentioned on CNN. But those 7, I'm trying to think here was they start you off with Grandma Deb's Snicker bar salad, which using the term salad quite loosely there. And then the next thing is the chopped dog, which kind of a mystery meat there, but the dog might, well, we don't want to talk about it that much. But and then they got the lamb fries, which are pretty good. So at this point, you are maybe starting to feel a little bit full, but let's keep in mind you are now on number 4. So that's next is the deep fried nacho ball. So you could imagine sort of a regular just plate of nachos that somebody kind of crunched up and then put into a ball and then also fried it. That will really weigh you down. It does kind of feel like you were in some sort of high altitude situation at that point, where you were just every breath feels like you can't make it, and you at that point I think probably you are getting about the half the oxygen that a normal person would. I can't believe this thing is still going with the FTP, the FTP. And then they got python kebabs. That is really just kind of at this point they don't want you to finish. If you've eaten all that and then they come out with some pythons on a kebab, you are basically just running for the toilet or somewhere in the back of the restaurant, to kind of looking for an exit. And then finally, no, not finally, we're on the number 6 right here. They got atomic crawdads, and that's basically just, do you know what a crawdad is? I did grow up in Georgia. I know what a crawdad is. Yeah, they're pretty much the like the scummiest little creature that you could possibly find in any sort of back creek or something like that. And they do taste disgusting, and what they have to basically do is just mix up the hot peppers and the sriracha and anything they can do to fire them up a little bit, so you don't taste the natural taste of them. There's pretty much just bottom feeders, and then finally at that point, if they haven't called the ambulance or something like that, they'll bring out the hot beef sundae. So and I guess just to kind of throw it in there that is maybe a dessert, but also again that they really don't want you right on their walls. They said that Cleveland made it through the 7 summits. So are we done with the FTP? It did. It just did finish up right there. So anyway, I now I get the alert that you're saying. The 7 sails, we'll talk about that another day. It's like the fish version of everything I just talked about. Okay, so now we should be able to go over to. Let me just take it over. Let me just talk, okay? Okay, so here we are going to bring up the website, and if you just go to the domain now, you're going to be presented with this, and that is in itself something of an accomplishment, because we now know that it's connected to the database and everything like that. It is. Do you want something of like a drum roll here while we press the continue button? What is this? They want more stuff from us? Well, that will have to definitely change, because that just kind of threw it right out there. You will need this password to log in. Please store it in a secure location. This could be the most insecure location possible. Just straight broadcast. Is this a live broadcast? I can never remember that, if this goes straight out to the world or not. Like somebody right now has already kind of made it in and hacked into our website. No. We'll change that password in just a moment. But I guess I just should point out here that you can go ahead and put in here your initial site title, right? Let's just go ahead and get rid of it. So somebody doesn't think that they can just go in and use that. So we'll put in there a site title. You do want to put in here your username, a good strong password, again, as that password implies, something that is kind of random and it doesn't make sense. So I don't want to just put in here that, like, my first and last name. You're saying I don't want to just throw in there Cleavon O'Doul. What if I did do that, but I had like a comma or something like that? Does that make it pretty secure? I think somebody could probably guess at that. Is there a comma or an apostrophe in your last name? And O'Doul has an apostrophe? No, it does not. It has a comma. It's O, comma, Doul. Okay, so then, all right, I'm not going to argue with you. And then you'd want to put in here your email address, and the search engine it is up to. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I don't know why you would want to do that. Everybody likes their privacy, and maybe if you want to create kind of like a members-only private website to sell your merchandise and stuff like that. But if you're going to sell stuff, you want the search engines to be able to crawl it. So whatever you do, don't click on that. That would be a silly thing to do. Or that's just your opinion. But okay. All right. So I'm going to pause this and I'll go ahead and fill it in. I'll get to the next step. And there you go. We threw it in there. We got a different password in. And oh, well, it looks like I got the wrong password. Well, we might be stopped right here. Let me try to paste it in, the one that there we go, and update all. Sure. All right, so yes, and yes. And this, after 21 minutes, we have made it to the dashboard of your website. And again, we could have skipped over all that good stuff if we just signed up for a domain like GoDaddy's. Why do I keep mentioning them? There's plenty of websites out there that do this, but that would have set it up for us. But hey, I try to give you all the information. You do, and maybe that is to a fault to some sense, because you could have just said we could have just skipped over everything, or maybe is there any way that people could play these podcasts at like quadruple or maybe 8 times the speed that you normally go through them? I don't feel like people would really be able to understand things at 8 times the speed. But we are set up for future lessons here where we can begin creating posts and pages, and I'll explain to you, Cleavon, the differences in all of those, and hopefully you can build an amazing website. And I'm actually going to recommend a theme for you in particular that I think is worth buying and makes development a lot easier than just using some of the out of the box themes. So anyway, well, that'll be for another lesson another day. So we kept things kind of civil today, didn't we? Yeah, maybe I'm losing some of the fight in me, so to speak, and I've kind of just embraced that your condescending attitude at times. I don't feel like I feel like I was really nice to you this lesson. I didn't. Whatever. All right. So we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe.